One of the coolest things about moving to this brand new digital marketplace is that there are very successful examples of what could happen. And one of them is my friend, Robert Littal, who has been the owner, editor, operator of Black Sports Online, which is one of the best resources I have ever run into for interesting stories, stories that resonate through all of sports, stories that resonate maybe more to Black Twitter than the rest of Twitter, but it's a good thing for a guy like me to know about. Robert, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been a long time. How are you?
I am doing well, and I appreciate you having me on. I am so proud that you just are killing the game here. And I think you should know, if you don't know by now, you should know that your audience is loyal and, they will go with you wherever you go. And I'm glad that you're seeing that you yourself were the reason that things were successful at some things I'm not going to say out loud. But I'm glad that you see that your audience is going to stick with you through thick and thin.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. It had been too long since I had you on. It's been too long since we've chatted, and I wanted to talk to you about a few things that are, on your mind, on everybody's mind. This is a slow sports time of the year, yet here we are in the middle of a red-hot NFL discussion about the value of running backs. We've seen three of the best, brightest, youngest, if you will, running backs, both, all three of them collectively told, we're not going to give you a long-term deal. It's franchise tags for everyone. This includes last year's leading rusher in Josh Jacobs. NFL underpaying running backs to the point where kickers are now making more on a per average salary. It's nuts, but Robert, it's also understandable because the NFL sees the position as replaceable at best, disposable at worst.
Yeah, and I think the situation is that players oftentimes, especially when it comes to collective bargaining, a lot of times they just kind of go with the flow, and then they only really realize how bad it is once it actually starts affecting them. And the CBA has been basically put into place to squeeze players, especially when they feel like they can only use them for a period of time. And when you look at running backs, even going all the way back, their prime is those first 4 to 6 years. And unfortunately, the way the contracts are set up, if they use the rookie contracts and the franchise tags correctly, they can keep you at that low amount for the entire 7 years. So I understand why they're upset. I really do, because they take the most hits. They're involved in almost every play. They have to block. They have to catch. They have to run. And you still need a good running game to be a successful team. But you don't necessarily need Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders or Adrian Peterson to win a Super Bowl. And I think that's what teams have figured out.
The game has evolved, the style of play, the offense that has basically been legislated by new rules into the preferred offenses that we're seeing. It's a passing league, there's no doubt, but the number one job of every single team is to establish a running game. And the number one job of every defense is to prevent that running game from popping. So it does feel like a little bit of a catch-22. It's funny, and you've pointed this out succinctly on Black Sports Online, that we've got players offering up more venom. A lot of running backs, Travis Henry, established guys, offering up more venom to media members trying to cover this story accurately than they are at their own union representatives, who have once again agreed to a CBA that leaves players shortchanged more often than not.
Yeah, I found that kind of crazy, to be honest with you. I mean, we as media, we just see what's going on, and we're talking about it. And it's not like it's not factual. You can literally see it happening. I saw them attack the poor guy, I think from Bleacher Report yesterday, and he was just
Matt Miller. They came for him.
But it felt like they wanted to get it off their chest, and they needed an outlet. But once again, go to your GM, your owner, like you said, your union representative, and ask them, why is this happening? Why didn't we even try to fight in any shape, form, or fashion to get rid of the franchise tag? Why are we stuck in these rookie contracts? Why don't we have free agency? Where when we're free, we're actually free. I did this example. You look at Shohei Ohtani, right? He's going to get probably $1 billion, whatever it is, 500 million, because he does two positions, right? Now the Angels have never won anything, but he plays these two positions very well. Well, when Deebo Samuel played two positions very well, and they were thinking about franchising him, they were trying to say, well, maybe he's kind of like a running back, so we can lower the offer. So doing more actually gets you less in the NFL. And one last thing is that they should take into consideration is now these quarterbacks are taking 5, 10 carries, from the running back position. Josh Allen is a de facto running back, a secondary running back, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes when needs to be, Lamar Jackson. So teams are like, why do we need a running back? We could just run a draw with Josh Allen 10 times, and he's bigger than everybody else. So why should we pay the running back?
Robert Littal here on the Damon Bruce Show. It's good to have him on. So NFL players keep agreeing to deals that eventually screw themselves over or the entirety of the league's middle class over, and it feels like everyone is either paid like a Pro Bowler or on a rookie contract or getting screwed over in free agency. Guaranteed deals in just about every other league in the world. How come NFL players and union reps continue to fall for the concept of the non-guaranteed deal?
I don't know how and when they brainwash the fans, maybe brainwash some of the media to think that it's, that we're not intelligent enough to figure this out. The one thing that they always like to say, which I think is so crazy, because they really try to insult our intelligence with this. And they're like, well, we can't give every player a guaranteed contract like Jaylen Brown. It's a $300 million. We can't give out NBA-style contracts. What are you talking about? We can't give everybody $100 million guaranteed because there's too many players on the team. But that's not really what the point of a guaranteed contract is. It's just pay me what you think I'm worth. And that's it. It doesn't matter if it's $20 million or $200 million or $50 million or $5 million. I would rather know that. I remember Michael Vick signed a contract with the Eagles, and it was a big deal. It was a big headline. It was like a $100 million contract with the Eagles. And everybody's like, oh, congratulations. He made like $20 million off of it. I would rather you just say, hey, I want to pay you $20 million for a year or 2 years and let me be free again, than lock me into a long contract that if I overperform, I can't get out of. And if I underperform, you can get out of. That's insane that any fan or any human being would think that that's fair. But for whatever reason, that's the way that it's been in the NFL for years. And remember, they had to go on strike just to get free agency.
Right.
So this is not like the history shows us that the NFL has really tried to clamp down on players, and until they kind of all come together, I don't really see anything changing.
You know what I think it is? And it explains an awful lot about how people vote against their own interests, because no one votes with the wallet that is actually in their back pocket. They vote with the wallet that they will have in their mind in their back pocket one day. So I'm always going to favor the wealthy because I'd like to join that club, and I'll be voting against my own interests while I am trying to help it out. And I think that maybe that is part of the element to these bad deals that unions and players keep agreeing to, because if I'm a Pro Bowler one day, it's all going to pay off for me. But if you're not, good luck with that. So, Robert, I want to shift gears a little bit, because one of the best guests I ever had routinely on my show was a weekly conversation with Michael Irvin. I love Michael Irvin. I never thought that, a 49er fan base, which I used to talk to on the radio, would fall in love with Michael Irvin, but indeed they did. The guy is great at his job. He is great at talking about football, but he remains suspended for NFL Network for one of the least hard to find the boogeyman of the situation lobby interactions that you can see on security tape. What do you think is happening with Michael Irvin and NFL Network, and when will we get a resolution? Football's around the corner.
It's very strange. It's like if there's some sort of smoking gun against Michael Irvin that we don't know about, I wish they would just, point that out, because, looking at it just logically, you see the interaction. He has witnesses. He's not hasn't been charged criminally with anything. He's not going to be charged criminally with anything. The interaction less 2 minutes, and he obviously goes to his hotel room. So there's no he said, she said, we could see it. So what is it? Like, what are we missing out of the situation that would cause someone to be suspended for 5 months for this? To me, it almost feels like maybe they don't want Michael Irvin at the NFL Network anymore. Maybe this is like their way of using this to keep him off air. Maybe something going on behind the scenes, but it's unfair to him because just let him go. If you feel that way, just let him go. But it makes me, all on the flip side of that, I think they're in a catch-22, like you was talking about before, because they let him go without like calls, and really can't see any calls right now. Then they open themselves up for a lawsuit as well. So I don't know. I don't know if they're afraid if they let him back on the air that that some women's groups or anything like that are gonna attack them. But just getting the vibe from most people, and I'm talking about men and women, white and black, I would say 95% of the people are like, look, if that is what gets you suspended from your job, a lot of us might end up getting suspended. If anybody could just say we talked to him for 2 minutes and we harass them. I just feel like it's unfair without more information.
You for a long time you've covered the media itself, not just the athletes that are the subject of so many of your articles as well. You're one of the greatest headline writers in the history of the internet, if you don't mind me saying. The king of the phrase milk yacht, which is just one of the greatest contributions you will ever make to society, Robert. But as someone who's covered the media for a long time, what do you think of what's going on with the ESPN layoffs? I mean, layoffs came for me at a local radio station, but now we're basically seeing the concept of network radio being eviscerated by a company that used to sell it probably better than anyone.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's scary, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, young kids come up to me all the time about trying to be in sports media, and I try to be as honest as possible. It's rough.
Right, don't do it. Like, the best piece of advice I could give you was pick another vocation almost.
Yeah. Because it's similar. Actually, it's similar to the NFL. ESPN is top heavy. And what happens is when they have individuals, I think, on the network that aren't into that hot taking, that aren't moving the needle, that aren't on social media every day causing controversy, but are still making millions of dollars, they're like, this is not moving the needle for us. As I pointed out, I was like, ESPN would rather have someone go on Sports Center, their flagship, everybody as kids grew up watching. They'd rather have an analyst go on and quote a story from Ball Sack Sports, okay, and get ridiculed and get made fun of throughout the whole, social media. People of New York Times, all these people are making fun of, this guy because he's putting Ball Sack Sports on E. And he's done it more than once. But they'd rather pay him than pay, Steve Young, a Hall of Fame, quarterback who actually knows, the game. And
right, reason, nuanced explanations of what you're seeing have been discarded for the guy who might get the ball sack story on there.
Right, exactly. And it's scary. And then you see it, and then you wonder, like, where are we at, in sports media, to the point that should fans actually take it seriously? Is it more entertainment now, which is something that I started doing 10 years ago before it became hip? Is it more sports entertainment than sports news?
You know what you used to do too was go out and cover NBA Summer League before that became as hip as it is now. Did you make it out there this year?
Yeah, I was out there for a couple of days. We actually have an NBA writer, Daniel Bell, who does really well. He's out there for like a week or so. But, I like hanging out in Vegas for a little bit.
Yeah, who doesn't? One of the things that I walked away with was, Zion. He went down there to start to do like the I'm going to get it together positive PR tour. Zion's problem with his side chick, Robert, and there is no website that covers the concept of side chicks better than Black Sports Online. But Zion's problems with his side chick should be taught as a master class in the rookie symposium each and every year. Like, this OnlyFans model is like one of the biggest cautionary tales you could ever see. And I mean, to say her latest accusations about him becoming physically violent, like, I never want to tell you that there's no element of truth to that, but this woman doesn't have a shred of credibility left to her name with the way that she's using her thumbs to harass this guy on Twitter relentlessly for going on like 3 months right now.
Yeah.
Will this ever go away? What makes this go away?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's doing the right thing by trying to ignore it, because if you acknowledge it, that it gives more fuel to the fire. Obviously, at some point, she's going to have to stop coming up with stuff. There's only so much that you can do, but it is surprising to me that I mean that this continues to still happen year after year after year after year after year. And I told someone the other day, or I think I was speaking on a podcast, I'm like, these young ladies, I get messages from them a lot. From athletes, and I never cover the ones, because to me, if it's not public, that's happening in your private thing. But the things that these athletes are sending these young ladies, the things that they're saying to them, sometimes I even hit them up and I say, hey, listen, I'm sure you've heard of my site before. I'm not trying to cause it, but you should know that this person is sending information to people like me trying to expose you. Now, I'm not going to do it, but somebody might not, care as much or is maybe not as conscious of their reputation and things of that nature. You need to stop. And I don't know. Maybe they need us to go talk at the rookie symposium to get them to really understand the type of trouble they can get into, because social media, if used incorrectly, you see what happened to Ja. This man lost millions of dollars just because of Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Just because he couldn't stay off Instagram, and it frustrates me, because these are normally young black men that are millionaires, that are role models, that kids look up to, and you just want them to succeed. So I hope Zion succeeds.
My nearly 4-year-old has stumbled in here, and here comes mom to chase him out.
Oh, it's all right.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Look, true or false, Robert? Fox Sports 1 knows exactly who it's going to pair with Skip Bayless already. They're just trying to sell this as some big search to promote a show that, with Shannon, with anyone, was really never grabbing hold of, our consciousness anyways.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it shouldn't be me. I mean, but I think they do have an idea of what they want to do. I don't think it was a coincidence that it was a leak that he was meeting out with Richard Sherman. I think it was always going to be a retired black athlete that's a little controversial, that has strong opinions. It's just a matter of finding the right person, and then making the money and everything. Where Skip is never going to change. He's going to be Skip until he's no longer with us, and he has the. I mean, if people, it's funny to me that people still get upset about Skip. He does a video about LeBron, and people just lose their mind. I'm like, where have you been for the last 20 years? None of this is the same. You get hooked in every time, and that's why Skip still makes millions of dollars. That's why he's still on TV, because no matter what you say, all he has to say is LeBron, and people are going to react,
right?
And as long as people are reacting, he's going to still have a job.
Dude, you're great at what you do. You have been for a really long time. What are you cooking up for the website? What is the next story you're going to be all over?
Well, like I said, it's kind of a slow time. We're doing a little stuff in here and there, but I will say that there may be some TV things coming up in the future. So just keep an eye out. I think people are going to be seeing me a little bit more on the screens here sooner than later.
That sounds like a really good deal. Should have happened a long time ago. It's about damn time, if you don't mind me saying, you handsome young man. You. And by the way,
young anymore. Look at the gray hair now. Oh my goodness.
You look good in the Birmingham Barons jersey too, by the way.
Yeah. Me and my MJ, the GOAT.
Pinstripes are slenderizing. Never forget that. Thank you, Robert. Great catching up with you, man. It's been too long. Let's do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, anytime. I appreciate you. And once again, man, you're killing it. Keep doing it.